Alright guys, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. Glad you guys made it back. Glad I made it back. Shoot. So last week I recorded an episode about outing. So if that's an interesting topic to you, check that out because that one's coming up next. But I have to post this one today because it's Valentine's Day and it's going to be a time-sensitive one. So I don't want to not post. But I already scheduled for 4:20 p.m. tomorrow. The episode about outing will be uploaded and ready to listen to. It's already scheduled. It's already there. But it's been sitting there kind of in limbo since today. Up until today. And then I was going to post that one for today. And I was like, no. Let me just talk about where I've landed since that previous episode about outing that I recorded far before this one. And let me explain kind of what happened during this last week that led me to not really post anything. I didn't really post anything, even though I had intended to. But you guys might like this. Maybe you won't. Maybe this is not gonna be a good freaking maybe this isn't gonna turn out well. But okay. So I'm trying to turn the situations in my life into something fruitful. So people who know me, you probably know I'm quite creative and artistic. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm like super talented. I'm not going to say that I'm not really the type of person to say that, I'm not good at this or I'm not good at that. And I'm also not really the type of person to like not hype myself up or just to be so I don't want to take an extreme stance either way, saying like, no, I suck at everything, or like, yes, I'm really good and skilled and like really awesome at things. I think I have some strengths, like being able to sit with very tedious tasks and sit with them and process new information and like delve into things deeply. That's something I often enjoy, especially when I'm not pressed for time and it's a topic that I like and I find that it's like productive. It just kind of does something, like, especially to do something like that creatively. And it kind of, for me, helps me kind of put things in a different kind of light. Like, to me, it almost feels like when, I don't know, maybe some people don't care because a lot of people were exposed to maybe like microscopes, for example, in like science classes early as a kid or like during high school or whatever. And it almost reminds me of that process of like you learn about stuff in books and textbooks and like your teachers are lecturing and then you try to start doing lab assignments and you're looking at certain stuff under a microscope and it's like, whoa. And then like, it doesn't hit you because it's like a class or like something you have to do and it's mandatory and you're just like, whatever, I just need to get my grade. But then later on you start like reflecting on it and it's like, whoa, that was pretty deep that we were able to see like a certain type of bacteria or like a slice of a brain and like see like what it looks like from something so close that we can't see with our own eyes and things like that. And that's kind of how I see kind of like a lot of the ways that I process things through like creativity. It's kind of similar. It's like you're looking at something almost like it's through a microscope. Like it's like you're looking through some different type of a lens that just kind of puts things into a perspective that may have never come out in the first place just by doing it the ordinary way. And my ordinary way is like quite venting, quite just like stuck in the here and the now of it, and like how I emotionally feel and how the emotions kind of impact me physically and just my energy and motivation and things. And so that's kind of how I naturally function, is like I'll naturally just have things going on and just kind of like, okay, like I'm not gonna really do much with this, it's just gonna be going on. And like last week, I had intended to kind of get the ball back rolling again, and I recorded that outing episode, and you can tell when you listen to it, it's like my head was like so somewhere else at a large portion of that recording. I had a hard time kind of like focusing, and I was like kind of talking like this, trying to think, like my words weren't even like getting out because I was still kind of processing things as I was like kind of trying to think about what I was actually trying to say, and kind of testing if like I really believe what I was actually talking about. So all that being said, I really liked the fact that I didn't really post. But as the creative process, what I did was I recorded a lot. So I have like, I don't even know if I can count how many hours worth of material. So almost 5 hours worth of material. Almost every day last week, I recorded almost 5 hours worth of material. Not every day, but throughout the whole week, it added up to almost 5 hours of material worth of information, of, you know, just going through like this whole reflection and processing kind of an exercise that I made for myself. And I really gained a lot of insight into a whole lot of things, but I was like, let me not post this right away because it's kind of deep and kind of personal, and I don't really want to get like excited about the post and just be like, let me just post this online because I think it's cool. And I was pretty excited about the processing of everything. Not everything, but like the thing, like I didn't like plan it to be this way. So like it was just fun the way it kind of came out, even though it was kind of like heavy. It was also kind of like a weight lifted, kind of like that, you know, took a dump kind of feeling. It was an emotional dump. That's what it was. And so I got my emotional dumping on last week, and you know, what I'm going to do next is have to go back through and sift through it, and little by little, I'll be developing topics out of that content. A lot of it's pretty mental health related. A lot of it's pretty psych type topics and life balance type topics. And I don't really know how people like my approach to things or don't like it. This whole like freestyle, just like get on the mic and just say what you're saying and then get on with the night. That's kind of how I roll with this podcast. There's not really too much behind all of that. So now that we're nearly 10 minutes in, let's just say that, you know, I am aware that it's Valentine's Day. I know that it's Valentine's Day. And I know a lot of people have topics that they're probably researching on, and everybody's talking about love and relationships and singlehood and breakups and dating and sexuality and sex and all kinds of intimacy topics. And I think on my end, I want to kind of talk about a different kind of topic. I'm not gonna go like too rogue and like just start talking about something that's like nothing about today at all. But yeah, I feel like if you kind of want to talk about those other things, you can kind of talk about them or hear about them from every other podcast that exists on the face of the planet. I'm kind of weird with shows. So like I people who know me, that I don't really watch a whole lot of, like, I don't have a TV or anything, so I don't really hear about every single thing that exists. Just takes a lot of brain energy for me to be so distracted by all kinds of stuff. Like, I'd rather be distracted by my own head. But yeah, so one of the topics that I kind of notice, I guess, is, I don't know what it would really be called. I can describe it. So, a person's relationship to themselves. So, I'll just describe some interesting situations I've been dealing with. Talking to a person who I'm trying to get to know better on a deeper level. A person that's not like brand new in my life, but not somebody I grew up with or knew even before the Rona started. So to me, that's like a new, that is still new in my opinion. And wanting to be kind of like understanding what their kind of perspective is, where they're trying to go with things, what my preferences are for things. I'm noticing it is really hard for me to determine what I prefer when the dynamics are like super complex. And so sometimes things that I felt like I was cool with, I realized I'm not maybe too cool with it from every single angle, maybe just certain angles. Like, for example, one of my friends, like, I mean, people kind of know, like, I'm not like opposed to poly relationships and things like that. It's not like something I'm opposed to or like against or like flee from or like don't really want that or anything like that. Like, it plays a role in my life. I'm not really like against it in any way, but I was kind of talking to a friend about this, and I'm like, I didn't really realize that I had some form of hang-ups, like, my friend was asking me like how I feel about thruples, like, and this specific friend isn't like trying to like involve me in a throuple or anything like that. At least not from the way the conversation seemed like what we were talking about. That didn't seem like what we were talking about. We were basically trying to discuss our kind of like current relationship stati, I don't know what the word is, but like the statuses that we have separately with different relationships, because we hadn't really talked in a while, and this friend lives in like far like on the East Coast, so we're just talking and catching up, and so me and this friend started kind of like discussing kind of like they were talking kind of about their kind of preferences in relationships and where things kind of aren't really working out too well for them. Some stuff that they feel like they need to kind of get more in order with. But then like we were both kind of also talking about like how, casual types of relationships or not like very conventional relationships, they kind of serve a purpose too. So, we started talking about that. And also, when this friend was asking me about the throuple, I was kind of like, in my head, I was like, I never thought that I'd have to think much about this. But based on the last recent week and just everything I've been processing during the last week, and some stuff similar to that kind of came up, as well as some other topics that are nowhere near related to that too. And I realized that, when it comes to like a throuple or something along those lines, like just from my own personal perspective, for my own individual self, having zero to do with like what anybody else needs or expects of me, right? So this is just my own thing. It's not like every single person's, I'm not judging other people or anything. I'm just talking about me here. So when she was asking about thruples, I was kind of like, initially I would have been just like, oh yeah, like I've got nothing negative to say about thruples. I'd be down for it. And then this time I was like, I actually do have some hang-ups about it. Like, because I remember before being on a buy app, and I don't know what app. It was a buy app of some sort. And then it was like a dating app, social app, something like that. And most of the correspondence I had on that app with people was straight or bi couples, usually cis male and a cis female, married, looking for a third. And it's so kind of my hang up was usually along the lines of, cis straight guy looking for a fetish to be filled. Now, I don't fetish shame. I don't, I'm not a fetish shamer. I'm not a shaming person, or trying to like judge or anything like that. But just for myself, I don't really prefer to be involved with partners or whatever version of partners or intimate relationships with people when I'm just there as like part of a fetish. That to me is not appealing. I mean, I get it. I see how that would be maybe of interest for some dude to have his woman like hooking up with some other woman, but it's kind of not really why. Like, I don't think I would feel too fulfilled by that. Like, I'd be like, well, what am I getting out of this? I mean, especially because like I don't really want to be hooking up with some woman's husband, and also I'm not really looking just for some physical thing with some person that, just is kind of there for some fantasy kind of purpose. Like, I get that. It seems like it could be like a fun experience, but I mean, I also, for me, I value my time and energy, and even if it was like a one and done kind of thing, I don't really see myself going in that direction. Like, I guess it's different than like a hookup or just like a one night stand kind of thing, because I feel like there would have to be like some form of like interacting, conversation, meeting up, talking. Like, I feel like there would be a lot more involvement than what would be worth my energy and time and emotions for all that. Like, I feel like if it was like more of a spontaneous, like, oh, we just met today and like, let's just see if we can make this happen, even though that sounds still not very appealing, that just because there's a lot less investment seems a lot more appealing than investing like multiple meetups and stuff like that. Like, it's just not something I'm motivated towards like trying to do. But so that would be kind of my way of explaining my interest or lack thereof of like a throuple situation involving myself, if it was something like that, that came on, like the experiences that I had on that app where I was just like, oh gosh, this is not what I'm looking for. But also, like, there are things within that realm that don't involve maybe cis straight men and don't involve, you know, a fantasy aspect of just like you're this couple's fantasy kind of thing. Like, there are things that I think there were deeper connections on some levels and other kind of connections on other levels. I think I could vibe with that more than just from that perspective. So I'd say yes to the throuple thing, but it would have to be not all aspects of it, just some there. I could vibe with some of that. I need to air this place. Whew. Guys, oh guys, oh guys. All right. Man, these days it's like hot, it's cold. It's been 70 something degrees, 80 something degrees. So it's like I'm recording, the sun's kind of setting, and like even though the weather has cooled off today and the sun's almost down in the next 20 minutes or so, it still gets kind of hot sitting in a car. So I still have to air it out, but at least it's not like it was before. But yeah, my shade spot too is now sunnier for longer. So now I'm gonna have to try to figure this out again. But yeah, so that's one example of kind of some kind of thought processes that I've had going on. But another thing is kind of like the whole thing is kind of like doing for yourself, you know, like figuring out kind of what you need for yourself, like not in a selfish way. Like, I'm not saying like figuring out what you need for yourself, screw everyone else, but it's kind of like, you know, if you're having a hard time with trying to figure something out, like if something just doesn't rub right, or something just kind of isn't seeming like something that you're totally interested to jump into, it might take some time. It might take a week to sit for like almost an hour every day and try to figure out what's going on, you know? It might take some time. And with some recent situations I've been kind of dealing with, I was just kind of like, well, why am I not jumping into this? Like, I couldn't really figure out, like, why am I hesitating? Like, there's some kind of hesitation that I just wasn't fully understanding. And I think the thing is like, because a lot of times I'm keeping things pretty general. So that's why I use that example of like thruples for like as an example of something that's like, okay, yeah, to some extent I usually would say, yeah, I'd be down, but then like, why the hesitation then, you know? Because it's not like I haven't had any opportunities in that direction. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really give a full example. I don't really want to talk about a lot of details right now. I'm not really in the mood for all that. But that was one thing. And then another thing was kind of a realization. Was it last night? I think it was last night. Yeah, because I did a journal entry about it. So I've been doing a lot of audio journaling and things like that. And I did this like audio journal about this thing. Now I'm not one to really say, you know, think on the positive side, think on the bright side, look at the bright side, as a way of saying like, just don't think negative ever and don't look at it. I'm kind of more along the lines of process the negative. I mean, yeah, process the positive too, but I feel like we spend so much energy more in the negative. So one thing I'm finding helpful recently is something I wanted to share, because I was sharing this with a lot of my really close friends. Not all of them, but like some of my really close friends today. I was sharing with them about kind of like this kind of realization that's kind of helping me feel a lot better in a way. I mean, like, it is kind of draining still, honestly, but I've been trying to address it's like kind of like a style of thinking that I noticed that I have. So I can walk you through like a typical kind of day, like a good day versus like a bad day, or not really bad, but more like not ideal. And I've been struggling with trying to get my head in a space that's like gonna work for me. I can't remember if I mentioned this before or if I mentioned it in the outing episode or like what, but for a long time, I've just had a lot of hangups about a lot of things. Not too sure why, but there's just stuff that just I haven't been letting go of or dealing with or moving on from. And at the same time, I've developed kind of this other kind of some other kind of maybe like a negative kind of pattern of things started arising from that, because it's been going on for so long, for like quite like maybe like a couple years now. And I kind of noticed the development of this kind of experience, which is a strange one for me. It's been a strange kind of transition into where I am as of today and as of last week. So, I noticed, I'm going to try and record this without like any kind of like having to make like a trigger warning. So I noticed maybe, I don't know how long ago, maybe like, a few, like I noticed like near, like, I have to like develop my thought process here. Like a few years ago maybe, like, or since I started working in, like, I don't know, I think this has probably been going on maybe my whole life, but I think a lot of things about trauma from my past didn't really start coming into my awareness the way that I'm aware of it now. Like, I wasn't fully aware of it for a very long time. And then somewhere along those lines, I came aware of it. Like, I don't remember what, I'd have to like really reflect a lot to like recall kind of like what time periods. But there were definitely time periods where it was like, I noticed like shifts in my mood for like a year at a time, or like some of it was situational, some of it was just like, wow, like how are things now like so different, and how long is this gonna last? But I'm trying to pay attention to a lot of these shifts that I notice, because last Sunday, so this is the Sunday, meaning the Sunday before Super Bowl Sunday, I experienced something that I hadn't really experienced anytime recently. Now, I'm not a very messy person by nature. And it's just kind of odd to me how kind of like cluttered I've been for like quite a length of time. Now, I do things like laundry, dishes, sweep mop, that kind of stuff. So I'm not like dirty necessarily. It's not like things are like dirty, other than the fact that I do have a lot of sand in my car, because Southern California, it's kind of one of those things that's like, why even bother cleaning it? Because I go to the beach more than once a week, and there's always going to be sand from the beach. And so, like, I just don't even clean it anymore necessarily. So it's everywhere all the time. It's like in everything. So, like, the last time when I took out my beach chair, I accidentally dumped sand on the back seat of my car, and there's like a clear trail of sand that I still haven't vacuumed up. But stuff like that, that's like, okay, that's about as dirty as things will get. Or like maybe I haven't dusted for a while, or like things like that, But I don't hate cleaning. I wasn't raised really to not clean and stuff like that. But I kind of realized somehow, some way, some reason, I suddenly just wanted to clean and get a step closer to when I actually am able to move. At least now I don't have any clutter of anything that I wouldn't really want to take with me. Like, I threw out everything that was like really like useless kind of stuff. I do have a little bit of like an old computer that like I'm gonna keep, and like a printer that I haven't really used, and like a crock pot and like stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I don't really use this all the time or anymore, but I kind of do want to keep it because it's good to have backup stuff. Like if you really need to print and you can't really get to like Kinko's or something, or like if you really need a computer and like your newest one isn't working properly, at least I have like a spare backup computer, because my life is kind of like that. I kind of do need like a spare device, just because it would really set me back to not really have a computer in some instances. But yeah, other than a few things like that, I've cleaned significantly compared to probably since maybe 2019, maybe even before that. So it's just odd to me, and especially because I've been working from home too. You would think it would have bothered me more to have so much mess, like, which is weird, right? It's like, okay, now I'm literally here with my messes all the time, and like, you'd think that I would want to clean more, but I actually was cleaning less, far less than I've ever cleaned in my life. Which is weird. It was just weird to me. I'm like, why? And there was a literal hang up about it, guys. It wasn't even like I can't do it, or I'm just lazy, or I have no time. It was like literally there were things, like a couple little bins and like some areas, in my room where I was just like, I would just look at it and I would be like, well, maybe if I sit and like stare and like spend the time just looking at it and doing nothing, and telling myself I can't even do anything for an hour unless I'm going to do something with this mess, and I'm just going to force myself to sit here and like stare at it. And like, even that kind of thing, like, I'm not saying I did something specifically like that, but even kind of like the type of thinking that you think would just like set me into a mode to just clean. I still don't even know why I wasn't really cleaning, but it's weird to me. That was weird to me. And like, I remember too, one of my friends coming over, like before we went to go see, I think we were going to go to a soccer game or something like that. And like, we were going to hang out, and, people don't really come over to my place. It's not like that. And I remember feeling like, oh, I don't really want anyone like in my room, because this is like a mess. Like, it was like a disaster. And then I was like, okay, well, he can just use the bathroom to change, because he needed to change after his game or whatever. And I'm like, well, he can use the bathroom. And then right when he actually calls, like pulls up and like, hey, can I come up? And I'm like, shit, somebody's in the bathroom. So I was like, and that guy was taking a shower because that roommate had to like leave, and like, so it was right at the time where that roommate usually showered. And so I was like, we want to wait for him because we're like trying to get to this game. And so I was like, okay, like my room's right there. And I was like, fuck, it's like so messy. It was like so messy. Like I was like, oh my God, like this is like the messiest. It was probably one of the messiest days. And I was like, that doesn't feel pleasant. And then another time, near Halloween, one of my friends, both of my friends, or a few of my friends, like a car full of my friends needed the bathroom. And I happened to lock my keys in the car because I was sitting outside in my car waiting for them to come pick me up. And so they got there and accidentally locked the keys in my keys in the car, including my house keys. And we were on our way to a party. So I was like, well, I don't really need my car because we're taking the other car. So I was like, I'll just call AAA when I get back. And then we got back and my friend just needed the bathroom again. And so I was like, well, we can't, my keys are still locked in the car. And then my other friend was like, well, I can't really like hold it. And I'm like, they're like, can you like knock on the door? And I'm like, no. Like, it was kind of like one of those things where I'm like, I don't know, like that time I could have technically let them in, but I was like so hesitant. I was like, I don't want to talk to the crazy roommate, to have them come out and like have this whole situation. And it was kind of like embarrassment about the people I lived with and all this kind of stuff. So I think all of that was really kind of just like, holy, like, wow, like I don't really want, people like to like, and it's hard for me to involve people in my life when it's like, oh, you can't really come over ever or see my space where I live, like, ever. I mean, I'm not really supposed to have guests because it's like, what are they going to do? Like, sit in my bedroom? Like, there's no space, hardly even for myself. So it's like, there's really not space in there. And it's kind of like, not really something that you like. I mean, like, yeah, you can say, oh, yeah, I have a small bedroom, but it's kind of a weird bedroom, too, because it's, like, the way it's set up is so, like, temporary, because in my head, I need it to stay temporary. I don't want to, like, nest in there and, like, settle in. I'm really hesitant to do that, because then if I get way too comfortable, then I'm just, like, never going to want to leave, and I need all the motivation I can get to, like, not have to live there. Because that has nothing to do with my goals. And so all that, and then, yeah, I finally cleaned. And then after cleaning, for some reason, that whole week, last week, I was able to kind of better process a lot of things that were going on about life in the past, trauma, all that kind of stuff. And then that all led into more of like kind of yesterday, today, kind of like the updated thought process of the day. So I can go through that is why I was posting, was basically to kind of talk about the negativity aspect of things, like how the mind just gets like so negative about stuff. And so, for example, like, it's just like a useless way of thinking for me, right? So, for example, waking up in the morning, or even it even starts the night before. Like, it's all day. It can be all day long. It's like in spurts, multiple times in a day. It's like, it almost reminds me of like when you have like allergies to something, and then you're just like, every so often, periodically, you're just like sneezing or something. It reminds me of that. It's like, that's kind of how I feel about this whole process. It's like, I have like negativity that just kind of comes out of nowhere about everything for like no reason, even though there's like no accuracy whatsoever to some of it. So, for example, I'll know for a fact that in the morning when I wake up, I'm going to be tired, and I'm going to be like, I should have slept earlier. but a lot of times the night before I have to get up the next morning, which is every freaking day. I have to get up the next day every day. And it can be hard for me to want to rest and go to sleep. Like, sometimes the motivation just is not there for me. I don't want to rest. I don't want to sleep. I don't want to do that. Like, because I'm having fun and I'm enjoying. But then also it's like, well, my mind is kind of like going to negative places a little bit. Not like suicidal or anything like that, but just like not like fun thoughts. It's not like pleasant thoughts. It's just like negative. Like it's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to have to wake up tomorrow and feel groggy because I didn't sleep on time. And then the next day comes and, it's weird because I have pretty pleasant dreams. It's kind of hit or miss how things feel before I go to sleep. Sometimes it'll just be like combination after combination of just like memories about the past and all kinds of just like BS kind of stuff that's just like, why am I even thinking about this? There's nothing I can do about any of it anyways. Like, I don't have a time machine. Like, whatever, like, move on, just move on. And it's kind of weird that there's certain memories that I have that I never really thought about them before, and that's kind of like a new thing that's just been coming up in my head lately. It's like the most random of series of thoughts. Like one common theme that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, because I was raised in a church, and just like different kind of things that happened that were like, maybe not like, they weren't like traumatic and they weren't like so negative that I even need to like think about it. But it's like, for example, there was a time when, I was the collegiate leader of one of the praise teams, and we used to play, let's say, like the first Saturday of the month or whatever. It was like a consistent, like every 4 weeks we would play or whatever. And I would choose the songs and choose who was going to sing and ask them to volunteer, and then schedule like who's available when. And then we'd all practice usually Friday night before, and then early Saturday morning before church. And the band would practice with the singers and everything. And then we would do the music for the service that Saturday. And so it was easy, we had the keys, we could get in, we didn't have to wait for the pastor, we didn't have to do anything. It was like, I basically just planned everything, and we did it every time, and it was okay. We did improve after a while, because like, we had multiple different kind of people for the group, for the band, whatever. And I really liked it. It was a little stressful, but it was something that I kind of enjoyed doing. And then some reason I find myself thinking about like this one time out of all the times. And I don't remember if this is the last time that I did praise team, but it was the one time I remember towards the end when we kind of made some mistakes. I mean, there was a second time. There was a time before that, too, when we had one of the music professionals kind of, like, leading our group. And then I guess we kind of made a mistake. It wasn't his fault, but I feel like just by the look in his eyes and how he seemed like he felt, I think he stopped leading at that point. And I think they put me on because, like, I knew everybody, and, like, they just gave me the role. And I'm like, I'm not a professional. I just play guitar, and, like, I just know everybody because I've been here longer than, like, I've been in that church since I was, like, 5 years old. So it's like I knew everybody. And so if there were new people, I always kind of knew them. And I was kind of interacting with, like, everybody. I didn't really care who was who, like, whatever. If I was social, I was just going to talk to everyone. But it was just kind of interesting to me. I was like, okay, so now I'm in charge of this group, and they're like, well, you should just do the same songs every week or whatever, which we did. We just chose like a set, and the set list, we just repeated it like every 4 weeks. And like, since it was every 4 weeks, it wasn't like a big deal. but we improved on it and then started adding songs, changing songs out or whatever. And then, but yeah, the whole process went fine. Like, we actually improved over time with, like, you know, everyone getting better with singing, getting better with their instruments, like coordinating better. It just became smoother. And then somewhere towards the end, we kind of dropped the ball. And I don't know why I think about that. Like, I hadn't even thought about it for like ages. And then all of a sudden it would just keep coming to my mind recently, just like as if it was something that just happened like a week ago. And it's kind of like, you know how you have those like weird, embarrassing situations, like you're in the DMV line or something and you're walking towards the back and you like trip over the steps and like face plant or so, like something that's like, oh, like it's not something that's ideal to like experience. So this time was like with the band was like not something ideal. Basically we hadn't practiced enough the night before because, you know, I had gotten a bunch of people that hadn't come to church in like a long time. So I was like, cool, let me get them to come in. They came in to sing, and the drummer was like running late from work or something. He had a really important job and he couldn't just like leave because he had patients and stuff. And so I was like, well, he's like, he asked if we could set up his stuff and then we can just start practicing. But, you know, I was like, well, let's just like chat because I want to catch up because I hadn't seen like a lot of these people probably in like 2-3 years or so. So I wanted to like make sure they felt welcomed and everything, and just maybe just kind of lost track. And then people had to leave, and then the drummer came and we hadn't even started yet. And he was like, well, he has the easier part. He just follows us. And so he just wanted to like practice run through once, but we hadn't even started practicing. And then most of the singers had to leave by that point. And then we're like, well, let's just practice in the morning before. And then I kind of called people and was like, well, the only people who practiced last night were like us three or whatever. So let's just have all the other singers like not come sing. And then it turned out that, you know, the one guy who was singing ended up kind of screwing up, and we kind of just had to play through the whole song. And I'm just like, shoot, like we fucked up. But I mean, like it's bound to happen. You can't be a band that performs on minimal practice. Like, I mean, it's not like we played all the time, but like a lot of us, you know, we grew up in the church. We're kind of musical. But also it's like, dude, like why would I even be thinking about that now? You know, like why? Like, I'm not anywhere near connected with that church. I don't really even talk to any of those people anymore, really. And it's just like a weird thing to be thinking about. Like, in detail, to even be like thinking about. It's like, why would I even care about something as like random as that? It doesn't affect me today. But it's just stuff like that where it's like past mistakes that aren't even like big mistakes. It's like things that didn't really like have any major consequence to anybody. Nobody really cared. You know, it's not like I was offending people. Like, I wasn't doing anything. Nobody else did anything wrong. It just so happened that it just wasn't, things didn't work out 100% easily, and, you know, something just didn't go perfect, and whatever. So what? That's life, you know? But it's just interesting how my mind can take something like that and just like expand it so that it's like, oh, now I'm gonna wake up first thing in the morning and be thinking about this in detail. And the amount that I can be bothered by something like that, even though I can talk about it right now, just like, why the hell would I even care? And, you know, I can easily just wake up in the morning and be like thinking like, oh, like whatever kind of negative thoughts I could possibly have about that situation that was like over 10 years ago, probably. It's like, why do I even care? You know? But I do find myself thinking often about church, which is something really strange. 'Cause I feel like I haven't really thought about too much church related stuff in a while. And I feel like my life has actually improved since I haven't been it didn't fully improve all the time. I think there was a learning period of like, oh, I can't just go like buck wild and like, you know, I have to have some balance in my life. Like, I went from like, you know, being around people who were like really restricting the way that I wanted to live to let's have no restrictions and just do whatever the hell you want to do. And then I was like, I need to dial that back. And so, because I can't function like that, I can't maintain that level of party like in life. So yeah, I just wonder about it. But yeah, they're those types of thoughts that are just like, they're negative, and it's kind of like, also I can easily say who cares, but then sometimes I really care about it. I'm like, why do I really care about this stupid stuff? And there's that, there's having to drink coffee, have caffeine. I get really like not so pleasant caffeine crashes. So having to drink caffeine and then feeling good, but then my mood dips later in the day, close to the end of work. And then I'm like, now I don't feel good. And then I'm like, well, if I have an edible, that'll kind of balance things out. So I can have an edible or like smoke a little weed, but then that makes me, it'll relax me for the night. But then I'll feel kind of like a little brain fog, groggy in the morning. So it's like none of that is really helpful. But so just like the cycle of things and just kind of how the cycle of my day goes sometimes is just like, why on earth is that even going on? But then there's also the like kind of things about working out or getting up on time or getting up early, exercise. Even the other day, like probably even sometime today, like I don't know, I've been kind of like dreading like when I go snowboarding that there's gonna be a portion that I'm gonna have to drive at night. And I'm like, dude, I should be grateful that I'm like able to push myself right now. And like, it's not easy to go snowboarding. It's like a whole trip. It's 2 hours at least with the driving and making sure the car is maintained and spending all this money. And if I'm staying someplace, it takes some planning. It's not just like an easy like just thing to just go do really quick. And so I'm kind of wondering why why even something like that, where it's like, I don't want to go snowboarding because of the drive, that 25 minutes between the hotel and the slopes. I don't want to do that drive. And it's not really in an area where you can like take a bus or anything either, but I'm just like, it's going to be dark. I'm going to be a little bit anxious and like, I'm not going to crash. I've never crashed my car. I'm the kind of driver that I will literally pull off to the side of the road and let the people who want to tailgate me or drive too fast behind me, I will do that 5, 6, 7 times, on a drive just to let people pass me, just so I can comfortably drive as slow as I want to drive. So it's like, why am I even giving this energy? And it's like I could spend so much more of my brain power thinking about other things. And so that's kind of where my mind has kind of landed for this beautiful holiday of freaking Valentine's Day. So I can kind of explain kind of the way I sort of explained this to some friends of mine, that like it feels like I'm kind of playing like a mind game with myself. And so, and this is kind of my process lately, is that like I'm not trying to change negative to positive. So I mentioned that already. So when I'm starting to think about anything that's even kind of relatively negative, I've started kind of asking myself why. Like, why am I thinking like that or thinking that way? Like, not in a way that's like, don't think like that. You shouldn't think like that. But I'm kind of more curious as to like, why on earth am I thinking about this thing? just kind of like I was mentioning with the church band, with like, okay, we didn't like get, and it wasn't even all the songs, it was literally the last song, the last like probably 4 or so lines of the last song. So we did good up until the very end. Like, why am I thinking about it? You know, what's even the purpose? Like, does it even serve a purpose to be thinking about something 10 years old, information that, you know, the singer and me are really good friends. Everybody who's in that band are really good friends. Like, kind of like childhood friends, that grew up together. Our folks, a lot of our parents still go to the same church, so we are somewhat associated. Like, if my parents see one of them, or like if somebody says hi or whatever, like there's still like a community there, even though like a lot of us aren't like fully actively, like we kind of just developed our lives in different paths. And I think we'll always have a sense of community and be able to reconnect and like catch up and stuff, but never we never really, you know, do anything. But yeah, there's some friends I'm thinking about inviting snowboarding and stuff, but yeah. But yeah, why I'm thinking that way, and the reason why I'm mentioning this kind of stuff is because I feel like if I find it helpful, it might help somebody else. And it's kind of interesting because I work in the field of psychology, so it's not like we don't know different ways to think or different ways to cope with stuff or whatever. But it's kind of like sometimes it takes some tailoring. And for me, this kind of tailored method kind of works because before, I've learned a lot of different types of skills, but something that never really resonated with me was just how invalidating just kind of like the think positive, kind of sounds. Like, to me, it's like that doesn't help me to tell me just to think positive, or just don't worry about it, just forget about it, it'll be okay, everything happens for a reason. Like, when people just say kind of cliche stuff, it kind of is like, I don't really know if they really understand. And then like when I even say cliche stuff to myself, it's like it doesn't really resonate with me because it's not really how I feel about the situations. And so, but yeah, trying to figure out why things are going a certain way. Trying to come to conclusions on things, definitely reflecting on stuff. And focusing more from that angle of like, why are my thoughts going in that direction? And trying not to be so draining of the majority of my energy. Trying not to drain my energy and thoughts. I'd rather think about why and process more about why and try to figure out what's going on. And trying to think about like kind of like sorry, I share a parking lot with somebody who tends to have psychotic breaks near this time of evening. But let's see. But yeah, the draining of my energy basically is the one thing I notice. I'm like, it really takes a lot of energy to think negatively to a point where I end up not doing what I set out to do in the first place. So like waking up and being like, I don't want to work out. That was kind of how I woke up this morning. I was like, I woke up, actually felt relatively energetic compared to a lot of different kind of days. Woke up, felt good, wanted to work out, and I told myself, like, and I was early on it. I was like, this is like 7 a.m, so I'm like, I don't work till 8. I could have gotten in a good workout, but instead I was like, nah. And I laid around, I texted some friends. I don't feel like I texted for too long. I was like, well, whoops, sorry. We cut out there. We hit the 60 minutes and I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know what I did this morning, honestly. I think whatever it was, I in my mind, I was like, I want to do something wholesome, right? And low key and relaxing. And then I was like, oh, let me go back to sleep. And then I just didn't go back to sleep, and I stayed up, and I was like, well, let me catch on the financial news. And I started kind of using that process again of, like, the newer process of thinking of, like, trying not to delve too negatively into things. Because originally I would be like, I'm too tired. I don't want to get up. I don't have energy. But I checked my watch app, and I was like, well, I slept like 7.5 hours, even though a lot of it wasn't deep sleep. It was sleep nonetheless. So I'm like, well, I rested and slept till almost 7 a.m, which is like unheard of. But also the wild roommate was also silent, and it was just a calm day altogether. So, or night. Well, yeah, the jacuzzi helped. Pretty sure there were plenty of herbal remedies that helped with the sleep, but I think that also throws off my sleep cycle, honestly. But it was nice. It was good to have that, to have a pleasant experience somewhat in the morning. And then there were thoughts that were kind of just like flooding in, and I was like, well, maybe, because Teal Swan mentioned like low blood sugar, or even like with the fogginess, it's like lack of hydration. But it eventually got to a point where I was like, I just need caffeine and like a decent breakfast, because I ate like a rice ball, and I realized I didn't have any more coffee. I ate a rice ball and like a cup of cacao, ceremonial cacao, and my energy did get up a little bit, but I was like, I need more energy. I need more, alertness and speed. Which at this point I'm realizing was a mistake, because I didn't need all that energy. But yeah, I don't really know. I'm not really, too incredibly, like, yeah, I didn't work out yet today, so that's kind of weird for me. But yeah, I'm really trying to keep it, like I said, not necessarily just like positive, but just kind of asking myself why more often, trying to find out why I'm doing things the way I'm doing them, why I'm thinking things the way I'm thinking them. I mean, I've noticed that, some things have changed. I haven't had like any kind of flashbacks in a while now. So like, it's been a pretty long time, but it's kind of shifted from flashbacks to, my mind just like reminding me of all these like weird negative experiences that weren't even that bad. It's like, well, we need to search for something bad or negative or that wasn't ideal. And you need to think about it. It's like my mind almost wants to just find something negative now that it doesn't have like flashbacks to reflect on. It's like, well, now let's just reflect on this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't find that helpful. Like, the flashbacks weren't, I'm not saying they're fully gone, but it's probably just because my lifestyle is so much calmer with the way work is and everything, that I actually have more time to process things, and I have less kind of off-center long periods of time. Not saying that everything's fully centered all the time, but just saying, like, it's not as just like plow through as it used to be. But yeah, I also don't like having like anxiety about things or worry about things. Yeah. And I don't know. So I think at the moment, let's see. I gotta order my dinner. Sorry, guys. I just must. What is this? Plant-based badassery? Is that are you trying to say it's like a badass place, or is that an actual word? I'm probably pronouncing that so wrong. I'm pretty sure badassery. Oh no. I'm butchering that. Dude, what the heck? I didn't know there were this many vegan places. Dude, I didn't want all this. I just want like the freaking one thing. I just want the one thing that I want. Why is this so hard? It's hard for me to remember the name of certain restaurants. Oh, that delivery is expensive. Why? Okay, why does one of them have no delivery fee? Whatever, I don't know. Do they have combos? Hell's specialties. Sorry, you guys are gonna be with me on this process. Okay. Yes, order again. I just want the same thing I always get. Big Zack. Heck yeah. Aw, dang it. That's so expensive. Alright, I'll do the iconic. Iconic with fries. This is gonna cost so much. This is so ridiculous. Iconic with fries. And ketchup and mustard, of course. Okay. And fries. Why are the fries so much money? Why is it so much money? Alright, whatever. I can't get a burger with no fries. No, I don't want any of that either. Alright, well, it's going to take forever for it to get to me. I seem far away because I am far away. Alright, sorry guys. Alright. Just ordering my dinner. So, will you please? Alright. Good. So basically, yeah, that's kind of been my thinking process. Let me see if I missed anything. Yeah, just trying to figure out where my brain power is going, because it's like, I feel like my mind isn't as sharp as it once was, to some extent. But then in other ways, I'm able to kind of process more than I ever have been before, or like a deeper level of processing. So it's just weird. And I'm not sure where all this is coming from. Like, maybe I'm less overwhelmed, which I'm not really sensing that I am, but I don't know. Maybe something shifted recently. It's weird. Like, maybe just naturally things just flowed into, like, this is the right time for all this to be happening this way. But I really don't know. I mean, this isn't like something that I'm like used to experiencing. It's not like a common experience for me to just kind of know what's happening. So with that, I hope this was a helpful Valentine's chat about, just ways you can be selfish for yourself. I know a lot of times people spend a lot of their Valentine's Day kind of focus on other people, focus on, the relationship and all that. But sometimes, it's good to look at alternative methods of kind of like addressing things, and kind of doing what you need to do for yourself too. And I've really been spending a lot more time doing what I need for myself, kind of disconnecting from the world. I've noticed, this kind of multitasking and slight, I don't want to call it anxiety, but it's like a little bit of like frustration with like a little bit of anxiety. It's some form of anxiety, I'll be real. It's like a type of anxiety of some sort. It's just kind of hard to peg. I don't know. I feel like in a way a weight has been lifted, but in another way it's kind of like trying to learn, or like get acclimated, kind of like one of my friends was describing. He has like a different rotation for his job now, and it's kind of a new process. He's kind of waiting till it becomes more like routine, and like it's not such a novel thing, because I feel like with a lot of novel types of things, even if it's at work or with just different ways of thinking or whatever, it takes a while for that to become an automatic process. So, it does take a bit more energy, because you're like devoting more like brain power to like this new method of doing things. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. I sometimes I just don't know, sometimes it's just like weird to take a step back and be like, how did I get here? I wasn't expecting these types of moments to come or happen anytime soon or ever, or I was just like I wasn't thinking that like I'll never have any kind of breakthrough with any kind of thing. And I've totally kind of watered down exactly what's been going on. Like, I'm telling you guys kind of like the overall of it. Like I said before, it's like, I don't want to have to put like a trigger warning on this. Like, I don't want to put like too many like personal details about it either. Just kind of like just the bare bones. So if there are people who want to like follow different type of methods or try it out for yourself, you can know how to do that. But at the same time, I don't want to be like too detailed about it, But so far the experience is mostly just that. Like, it's kind of like a new learning experience. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be going through these insightful days. I don't know where it's coming from, or I mean, it's exciting. It's also kind of like, do I have the energy to like process all this stuff? Like, because I know for a long time I was like, man, like it's heavy. Like, I don't want to like have to process all this all the time. And so now that it's just kind of coming a little more easily for me to like process things, it's just a new kind of experience to kind of like understand it, or try to understand it. Like, I don't even think I really understand it, honestly. It's like, this is just a lot of details and information about things that I'm just not sure, honestly, how to feel about a lot of it. But yeah, everybody, make sure you're checking in with yourselves, you know, and just, you know, having those reflections and kind of thinking back on your recent experiences with things, and just trying to keep on, you know, moving forward with stuff. And I guess I'm kind of living proof that, you know, if you keep at something, eventually, you know, something kind of blossoms out of it. It's just how or when or why those things happen, that is something I'm really just not too clear on. I'm not sure what unlocks the keys to certain doors in your mind that just kind of decides like, oh, I'm ready to just do this now, and it's not going to cause you any problems, at least at this moment. Or is it going to come back, or like what? Like, I've never been here yet, so I'm still trying to find all that out too. So I'm really wondering, you know, I really don't know, and I'm really curious to know. But I hope this was helpful and fun. I don't know. Maybe it's not fun. I don't know. I feel like I don't want to be like too deep. I don't want to go like too deep and like frighten people away. But sometimes you gotta go too deep and frighten people away. So I don't really know what to say past that. But yeah, I don't want to be like too deep on stuff. To a point that it's not like pleasant. But yeah, make sure you're checking in with yourselves. I mean, we all know, you know, if you have loved ones, you know, expressing that to them, you know, how you feel. But also, you know, I think a lot of us have that down. So I feel like it almost goes like unsaid. Like, for the majority of people, they have a harder time, you know, caring for themselves and, you know, dealing with our own selves. Just being kind to ourselves and trying to be what we need to be for ourselves. It's okay to do what you need to do for yourself, and you don't have to, you know, road plow or take advantage or manipulate other people to get that. What it takes is authenticity, kind of knowing kind of more details of what it is that you're kind of wanting, and being able to kind of, you know, be patient and work with yourself on certain stuff. That's more what it takes. So yeah. But alright, guys. I hope this was fun and helpful. And thanks for listening. Happy Valentine's.